What if one day you found yourself face to face with Elon Musk, and in that moment, your dreams started to take flight? This is the story of Helen Davis, a young woman working tirelessly at Tesla's Gigafactory in Texas, all while battling the pressure of her studies and a financial crisis. She dreamed of revolutionizing space exploration, but it seemed impossible, until an unexpected act of kindness changed everything. Sometimes the key to unlocking your future is just one unexpected meeting away. Tesla Gigafactory in Texas hums with the constant noise of machines and assembly lines. The metallic scent of steel fills the air, and the factory lights, harsh and unforgiving, cast long shadows across the vast floor. There stood a young, passionate girl, Helen Davis, a 25-year-old worker. She's a blur of focused energy, ensuring every part that passes through her hands meets the demanding standards Tesla is known for. She's fast, precise, and remarkably calm, even as the clock ticks into the small hours of the morning. Helen's colleagues are absorbed in their own routines, but her energy stands out. While others take breaks or pause to stretch, she moves without hesitation. The roar of machines fades into the background as she hones in on her task, assembling pieces of Model Ys and Cybertrucks with efficiency and skill. There's no time to spare. Her body may be tired, but her determination doesn't waver. This job, though physically demanding, fuels her drive to succeed. It's not just work for her, it's a means to an end, a crucial step toward the future she envisions. The factory, a vast industrial space, is a world of cold metal and relentless activity. Yet, Helen's focus never wavers. Her dedication stands out against the humdrum of the factory floor. When the clock signals the end of her shift, she doesn't linger. Instead, she heads straight to the workers' mess to grab a quick, simple dinner. The meal is hardly memorable, just enough to sustain her for the next day. Saving money is a priority, so she often skips breakfast, relying on the factory meals to get her through. But even then, the pennies don't add up. The financial strain is palpable. Beyond her work at Tesla, Helen is also a full-time software engineering student at Texas University. Her biggest dream? Working at NASA and contributing to the kind of space exploration that inspired her from the time she was a child. She's on a fully funded scholarship because of her exceptional academic performance, but she's still struggling. To finish her final project, she needs $5,000, a sum that feels out of reach, at least for Helen. The scholarship covers her tuition, but the project's costs are far beyond her savings. Helen is caught in a constant balancing act, juggling the demands of work and school. The pressure is mounting with each passing day. The weight of her situation is evident in the small things, how she counts every dollar, how she sacrifices meals and time with friends to save a few extra bucks. She's used to making do with what little she has, but now, with only 2 days left before the project deadline, the reality is setting in. If she doesn't raise the $5,000, she won't be able to submit her project on time, and failing the project would mean not graduating. The thought of that failure eats away at her. Helen's exhaustion is more than physical, it's mental and emotional. She's drained and constantly on edge, but she refuses to quit. Her mind races as she wonders if she'll find a way to make it work. She's pushed herself to the limit, staying up late to study after work and skipping meals to save money. But still, the $5,000 gap remains. Her project, the one that could change everything, was still incomplete. The software she was developing had the potential to revolutionize data processing for space missions, a contribution she knew could catch the eye of NASA. But without the $5,000 she needed to finalize it, her dream could slip through her fingers. And yet, with rent looming and bills piling up, that money seemed impossible to reach. Would she be able to pull it all together in time? Or would her dreams slip away with the passing hours, like the fading light at the end of a long, exhausting shift? The factory's hum is a constant backdrop to Helen's mental turmoil. Every day she gives her all, but it never seems enough. The bright lights of the Tesla Gigafactory have become too harsh on her tired eyes, and the relentless pace of work, as well as the constant pressure of deadlines, weigh heavily on her mind. As much as she tries to stay composed, the stress catches up with her. Tonight, it's worse than ever. After another grueling shift on the assembly line, Helen feels the familiar sting of exhaustion deep in her bones. She's been pushing herself beyond her limits for weeks now. The project, the money, the constant juggling of her job and school. Her scholarship has covered her tuition, but the $5,000 for her final project still feels like an insurmountable obstacle. She's run out of options and time. In the far corner of the factory, hidden from the busy workers and the ever-watchful supervisors, Helen moves behind one of the massive machines. It's the only place where she can be alone, even for a few seconds. Her hands tremble as she wipes away a stray tear, but it's futile. The floodgates open. She crouches down, pressing her back against the cold metal of the machine, trying to find a moment of peace amidst the chaos. Her breath is uneven, and her body shakes with the weight of her emotions. The factory around her continues to pulse with activity, yet she feels entirely disconnected from it. The hum of machinery, the clatter of workers, none of it reaches her. In this moment, it's just her, alone with her fears. The reality of her situation sinks in. If she doesn't get the $5,000 she needs, she will fail her project, and with it, her dream to be a software engineer at NASA. She had worked so hard for this moment, but it all felt like it was slipping away. The scholarship had been her lifeline, but the costs of the project were beyond what she could afford. The tears she tries to stifle only seem to make the feelings of helplessness more unbearable. She feels like she's drowning, unable to keep up with the pace of her own life. Her mind races. What if she fails? What if all the sacrifices, the long hours, the sleepless nights were for nothing? Little does she know, in a small corner of the factory, someone is watching. Elon Musk, during one of his routine visits to the security office, sees something that catches his attention. Through the CCTV cameras, he spots Helen sitting behind the large machine, her posture slumped in defeat. The tension in her movements is palpable. He can tell she's upset, her body language betraying the turmoil she's trying so desperately to conceal. The images on the screen don't reveal everything, but they speak volumes. Elon pauses, intrigued. He's seen employees struggle in the past, but there's something about this young woman that piques his curiosity. Most workers don't break down so publicly, yet here she is, in the shadows of the factory, hiding her tears from everyone. He leans forward slightly, scanning the footage, wondering what could be going on in her life. His mind starts to race. Who is she? Why is she so upset? What could be driving her to such a breaking point? Elon's curiosity grows. What would make someone so young break down in this way? He watches for a moment longer, and then something shifts. The cold efficiency of his usual demeanor softens. What will Elon do next? Will this small moment in time change Helen's life forever? The following morning, the factory buzzed with its usual cadence. But behind the scenes, a subtle shift was beginning to unfold. Elon Musk, having witnessed Helen's emotional breakdown the night before, couldn't get the image of her out of his mind. In a sea of faces, hers stood out, not because of her position on the assembly line, but because of the vulnerability he had seen, captured unknowingly by the security cameras. For most employees, Elon remained a distant figure, someone whose presence barely touched their daily lives. But Helen was different. There was something about the way she had struggled to keep her composure, the way she had tried to hide her tears from her colleagues, that stuck with him. Unable to shake the image from his mind, Elon decided to get to the bottom of it. He called the Tesla supervisor who was overseeing the shift. "Who is the girl working last night? The one I saw on the security footage?" Elon's voice was calm, but there was a clear sense of urgency beneath it. The supervisor responded after a slight hesitation, caught off guard by the personal nature of the inquiry. "Her name's Helen Davis. She's a software engineering student at Texas University. Works the night shift here, assembling parts for Model Ys and Cybertrucks. She's one of our most dedicated workers." Elon listened carefully, and the pieces of the story started to fall into place. A young woman working tirelessly to support herself, juggling the intense demands of her studies with the punishing night shifts at the Gigafactory. The supervisor continued, oblivious to the growing intrigue Elon felt. "She's on a full scholarship, really smart, but she's facing some financial difficulties right now. She's under a lot of pressure, the supervisor added. Elon's brow furrowed as the full weight of her situation sank in. The determination, the brilliance, it was all there, but so was the stress, the exhaustion. It reminded him of his own early struggles when he was starting out, how ambition and financial hardship seemed to go hand in hand. He could see that same fire in Helen, that same raw hunger for success, but it was now entangled with the overwhelming burden of her financial reality. I need to meet her, Elon said, his voice resolute. Call her to the management office as soon as her shift ends tonight. Let her know it's nothing formal, just a conversation. The supervisor, still surprised by the request, quickly agreed. Understood. I'll tell her. Elon leaned back in his chair, lost in thought. What had driven Helen to such a point of emotional exhaustion? He could sense that there was more to her story, and he needed to understand it. That night, when Helen finished her shift, she was exhausted. Another night was spent assembling parts, working tirelessly, trying to keep her focus sharp, even as the weight of her academic and financial struggles gnawed at her. The factory, still alive with activity, felt like an impenetrable maze of machinery and noise. She was about to head out when she received an unexpected message. Please report to the management office immediately after your shift ends. A chill ran down her spine. Her first thought was that she had done something wrong, something that would cost her the job she so desperately needed. Was this it? Was she about to be fired? Her mind raced as she made her way through the factory floor, passing the assembly lines, the noise of machines echoing in her ears. Everything felt surreal. She had barely just gotten the energy to pull herself through another night, and now this. The idea that she could be facing something even more daunting left her stomach in knots. Little did she know that she was going to get the shock of her life. What will Helen think when she walks into the management office? And what will Elon say to her? The weight of the moment hangs in the air, creating anticipation for what's about to unfold. Helen's heart raced as she stepped into the management office. The hum of the factory's machinery still echoed in her mind, a sharp contrast to the quiet tension she felt walking through the door. She had barely processed the unexpected message when she arrived, and now her nerves were in overdrive. The moment she stepped inside, she was greeted by a lone figure sitting behind a large desk. Elon Musk. He was not looking like the stern presence she had expected, but rather a quiet calm that radiated from him. He didn't look at her with the judgment or impatience she feared. Instead, his gaze was calm, yet deeply focused, as though he had been waiting for this moment, just as she had. Helen stood awkwardly by the door, unsure of what to do next. Her thoughts were racing, but all she could manage was a simple, "You wanted to see me, sir?" Elon nodded, pointing to the chair opposite him. "Please, have a seat." She hesitated, then sat down, trying to steady her breath. The silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken questions. And then Elon broke the silence. "I saw you," he began, his voice gentle but direct. "I saw you behind the machines, and I couldn't help but notice how upset you were. I wanted to check in, see if you were okay." Helen's eyes widened, shocked by his words. She hadn't realized that anyone had seen her, let alone someone like Elon Musk. Her throat tightened as the memories of the night flooded back. The overwhelming pressure, the tears she tried so hard to hide. I didn't mean for anyone to see me," she murmured, looking down. "It's just, I've been trying so hard, and I feel like I'm failing." Elon leaned forward slightly, his expression softening. "You're not failing. It's clear you're working hard, and I admire that. But sometimes we all need a little help. Tell me what's going on." For the first time, the words came easily. Maybe it was the calm in his voice, or maybe it was the relief of finally speaking to someone who might understand. She told him about her struggles, about the $5,000 she needed for her final project, about the sleepless nights, and the exhausting balance between school and work. She described the constant anxiety, the unrelenting pressure, and how, no matter how much she cut back, she couldn't make ends meet. Elon listened intently, his eyes never leaving her face as if absorbing every word. There was no judgment, no disbelief, just a quiet, unwavering attention. When she finished, he sat back in his chair, a thoughtful look crossing his features. "Your work, your dedication," he said, his tone now filled with admiration. "It's rare. You're clearly talented, and you have the drive to match it. I won't let you miss out on this opportunity over something like money." Helen blinked, unsure if she had heard him correctly. What do you mean?" Without hesitation, Elon picked up his phone and dialed a number. "I'm going to take care of that $5,000. Your project deserves to be completed, and I'm not going to let financial pressure stop you." He asked someone to bring him a check for $5,000. Helen's breath caught in her throat. Her mind couldn't fully process what he was saying. Was this real? Elon set the phone down and looked at her with a quiet smile. "You're also working hard to support yourself. I'll set up a stipend for your living expenses, $1,000 a month until you graduate. You shouldn't have to sacrifice your education for your survival." Helen's eyes filled with tears. The weight she had carried for so long seemed to lift in an instant, replaced by a sense of relief she hadn't known she could feel. She had never imagined someone would step in like this, not just to help her survive, but to support her dreams. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I don't know what to say." Elon nodded, his expression earnest. "Don't thank me yet. Just keep doing what you're doing. You've got a future ahead of you, Helen. A bright one." Helen was speechless, unable to comprehend the magnitude of what had just happened. In that moment, the weight of her struggles, the uncertainty of her future, seemed to vanish. As the conversation ended, Helen sat there for a moment, still in a daze. The enormity of what had just happened hadn't fully sunk in. Elon Musk, the visionary who had transformed entire industries, had just changed the trajectory of her life. The check for $5,000 in her hand felt like a lifeline, a tangible reminder that she was not alone in her struggles anymore. The weight that had been crushing her for so long seemed to vanish in an instant. Tears welled up in her eyes, not from despair, but from an overwhelming sense of relief. She had feared failure for so long, dreading that she would fall short of her dreams. But now, for the first time in weeks, Helen felt something new. Hope. Hope that she can finish her project, that she can graduate, and most importantly, that she can truly make a difference in the world of space exploration. With a deep breath, she stood up, still holding the check tightly in her hand. A sense of purpose surged through her like never before. The road ahead was still difficult, but for the first time, Helen felt equipped to face it head-on. As Helen turned to leave, Elon's voice stopped her. "Helen," he said, his tone steady but filled with encouragement. "You've got something special. I see the potential in your work, and I want you to keep going. Stay focused on your project, and don't let anything distract you from your goal." Helen looked back at him, her heart racing. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. Elon smiled and leaned forward slightly, adding, "Once you graduate, I'd love to meet with you again. And if you're interested, I can help connect you with the right people at NASA. You've got a bright future ahead, and I believe in what you're doing." His words were more than just encouragement. They were an invitation to a future that had once seemed so distant. Helen had always dreamed of working at NASA, but the possibility now felt real, something she could actually reach out and grab. Distant. Helen had always dreamed of working at NASA, but the possibility now felt real, something she could actually reach out and grab. The thought that Elon Musk himself might help her get there was almost too much to process. That night, as Helen stepped out of the management office and into the cool Texas air, everything felt different. She had always worked hard, fighting against the odds, pushing through her exhaustion, but now, for the first time, her perseverance had been recognized. Her dreams of becoming an engineer and contributing to space exploration were no longer just a distant hope. They were tangible, within her grasp. It was not just the $5,000 or the monthly stipend that had changed her life. It was the belief that someone who had already achieved so much, believed in her. That belief gave her the strength to keep going, to finish her project, and to push through the challenges ahead. But if you remember, Helen was not the first to experience Elon's generosity. While he was often described as an intense and demanding leader, there were moments when his humanity broke through, showing a more compassionate side. Take, for instance, an incident detailed in Ashley Vance's biography, Elon Musk, Tesla, SpaceX, and the quest for a fantastic future. The book recounts a moment when one of Musk's employees faced a heartbreaking situation. Their child had been diagnosed with a severe illness. The employee, already overwhelmed with worry, was struggling to cover the mounting medical expenses. Upon learning about the situation, Elon stepped in personally, covering the medical costs for the child. It was an act of generosity that surprised many, given Musk's reputation for prioritizing efficiency and results above all else. Such moments revealed a deeper side to Musk's leadership, a rare willingness to recognize personal struggles and step in when it truly mattered. While these acts of empathy were uncommon compared to his relentless drive for results, they showcased his genuine compassion. Helping Helen was not just about funding her project, it was about acknowledging her determination and shared resilience, qualities Musk himself valued in overcoming adversity to achieve greatness. Helen's life changed in a moment of unexpected kindness, one that opened doors she never thought possible. But Elon Musk's act was more than generosity. It was a powerful reminder that sometimes all it takes is someone believing in you. Do you know someone whose dreams are just one act of kindness away from coming true? Subscribe now, share this story, and let's inspire the world together.